potential issues. And first of all, just a kind of a humorous aside, there was a doctor, I can't remember his name now. Some of you may have heard of this guy. He did put out an audio tape that was widely circulated 15 or 20 years ago, roughly, called Dead Doctors Don't Lie.
Joel Wallach.
Joel Wallach, right. Joel Wallach, who was an MD and a veterinarian. And one of the things that he said in there that I thought was very humorous, he said, the only thing you're absolutely assured of getting if you're using supplements is expensive urine. Because most of what we consume, the body just eliminates. And in fact, he had talked to somebody that ran a porta potty service. You know what porta potties are? You know, these things you set up at concerts and so forth. And so they take these units away back to the warehouse, and they have to empty the tank. So the tank gets pumped out through this big grate on the floor because they find jewelry and watches and all kinds of stuff in there sometimes, right? So he says at the end of every day when they're pumping these things out, sitting on top of the grate is a big mound of supplements just passed right through the person's body, completely unused.
In capsules.
Capsules, tablets, whatever. And I don't. It was 20 years ago. You have to give me some slack. But there's a big pile of supplements sitting there. Okay, so the worst case scenario is you're actually going to become dependent and worse off. There's one more piece I'm going to add, even a little worse than that. In the best case scenario, they're passing through your body and not helping you, and you're just spending a lot of money for no real benefit. Now again, some people do seem to benefit, but I'm going to suggest there's always the issue of the crutch at work, of dependency. Okay? Is there any reason, are we the one species that can't get what we need from eating properly? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? Regardless of the quality of the soils. I'll address that in just a second. I'm going to share one more piece with you first. Starting back in the 50s, I believe, 50s, or I think it was the 50s, there was a study in Finland. They took a group of middle-aged men. They were all smokers, smoked cigarettes. And they wanted to see what was the impact on the development of lung cancer for people who were taking beta-carotene supplements. So they gave these men, they divided them into two groups. One of them got a placebo, one of them got beta-carotene. They didn't know who it was. It was a double-blind study. What happened? They followed these men until they died, and then they autopsied them. What they found, what do you think they would find? The men who took beta-carotene had
a higher.
They had less disease. They actually had more disease, not less. They expected to find, well, maybe if we're getting this nutrient into their bodies, they'll be healthier. They weren't. Now, they didn't suggest, the conclusion wasn't that this nutrient causes lung cancer, causes problems. But how else might you interpret this then? In nature, nutrients come prepackaged in specific combinations. When you take isolated nutrients by themselves, you create issues. You create issues. And that's what seemed to have been going on there. Now, instead of taking supplements, you could take a natural form, right? Let's stick with beta-carotene. What else could you do? Well, carrot juice. That's natural. Well, not exactly. I mean, petroleum, oil is in the ground. Plastic's made from petroleum. Does that make plastic natural? What do you think? I wouldn't say so. Carrots may grow on the ground, but you have to make carrot juice. There's no carrot juice out in nature. It's something you manufacture, just like you manufacture plastic. It's not a natural substance. I just completed a lecture outside of Washington, D.C. several years back. And at a break, this woman came up to speak with me. And I said to her after a minute, I said, "You drink a lot of carrot juice, don't you?" And she said, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I said, "Well, because you're orange, just like my shirt. You're orange." Her skin was orange. And she said, "Oh, that's because I'm detoxifying." I said to her, what was true at that point, I said, I've taken 12 or 1,500 people, I don't remember what it was, through 24, 25-day average water-only fasts. The single most powerful process that I know of to detoxify the body. Not one of those people has ever turned orange. It's never happened. Okay? Turning orange is not a symptom that your body's detoxing. What's it a symptom of?
Too much.
It's a symptom of having consumed too much carotene. Your liver can't process it. It's pushing it out through the skin. I saw this one other time. I was at a weekend yoga retreat, and we had a break. And this guy, some people were camping outside in tents. This guy said, I was talking to this guy. He said, I'm going to go out to my tent. I'll be back in a few minutes. And he came back in. And he was wearing a long shirt. And the first thing I noticed was his hands. And I thought for a second, this was in Maryland. We have a lot of clay soils in Maryland. And I thought, were you like playing in the clay? Because his hands were all red. Like, and I said to him, were you playing in the clay? And he said, no, I just took a beta-carotene supplement. I'm like, dude, I think you took too much. His whole skin was turning bright orange, in 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, this is not beneficial, right? Now, how likely is that to happen if you're eating whole food? Well, it's virtually never going to happen. But when we take isolated nutrients, even from carrot juice, we're consuming vastly concentrated amounts of things that we were never designed to consume in such concentrations. Now, it may be true that maybe my body can't get what it needs unless I take this massive concentration. Well, that tells me you need to give your body a chance to cleanse and heal. If you can't get what you need without drinking this much carrot, how many carrots goes into that? Because, I eat one whole carrot, my jaw's going, yeah, look, dude, you try one more and I'm out of here. I'm done with this deal, okay? That's a lot of work. We would never eat all those carrots. Well, our bodies aren't designed to be taking in all those carrots worth of nutrients at one time. Okay? I want to come back another time. We're going to talk more about juicing, so I won't. There's a lot more I could say about that, but let's stick with the nutrient question for now, the supplement question for now. So we're potentially creating issues by using isolated nutrients. We're not addressing the cause of the problem. I would suggest to you that if you've got a massive problem of some kind, let's say that you're starting to experience real B12 deficiency problems, you can cause brain damage. In fact, when someone says to me, look, Loren, a client says, I'm afraid I might have a B12 deficiency. I've been a vegan for X amount of time. How can I get enough B12? I don't take B12. I've been a vegan for 25 years. It's not an issue. It's not an issue if the body works properly, because we're making all the B12 we need in the body. Anybody that has a B12 deficiency problem, if they're not getting what they need, they probably need to give the body a chance to cleanse and heal itself. Okay? So, bottom line with supplementation, I would suggest that any time we're not getting what we need from eating properly, we want to do one of two things. We want to do both of two things. One, take a hard look at the diet. Is your diet really sufficient? Are you getting what you need? Now, I mentioned before depleted soils. It's true. Soils are depleted. And if you're still buying commercial produce, you're consuming a fraction of the nutrients that you'd be getting on average if you're eating an organic diet. And we talked before about organics. There have been a couple of studies. The first one was done at Rutgers University in New Jersey maybe 30 or 40 years ago now. And it showed that organic produce, side-by-side comparison, had dramatically between like 2 and 10 times the nutrient content. So if it costs you twice as much, it's a good deal from the standpoint of the amount of nutrients you're getting for the dollar. Again, I know some people are saying I can't afford organics, and my advice is just take the bigger picture. Step back and see, what do I need to do to ensure the highest quality food? Because if you care about your health, if you don't care about your health, you wouldn't be watching this long. If you care about your health, there's very few things more important than ensuring a high quality food supply. So do what you need to do to get the highest quality food. If it's organic, it will have more nutrients. It has to. Which gazelle do the lions always go after?
The fat one.
You sure?
Can't run.
Well, I like the second part of your answer better. the one that can't run as fast as the rest of the herd. It might be the fat one. It might be the lame one. It might be the weak one. It might be the young one. You know, maybe it's a blind one. I mean, whatever. It's not keeping up with the rest of them. Because I have a hard time imagining the, you know, one young male lion, obviously, when the girls wouldn't do this, saying to the other one, hey, watch this, I'm going to go catch the fastest gazelle. They don't go after the fastest one. What they're interested in is lunch. And they're all going to taste pretty much the same. So they go after, this is the law of efficiency at work, right? They want the most benefit for the least amount of effort. That's what they're trying to accomplish. Always. It's the same for us. We want to get as much benefit as we can with the least amount of effort. Ultimately, what we need to do is simply give the body a chance to cleanse and heal itself, and then eat the diet that our bodies were designed for. With plants, just like the lions, which plant are the insects, the pests, going to attack? You're a gardener. Which ones?
The weak ones.
The weak ones. The ones that are deficient. So a commercial farmer who's growing the same things over and over again, and you know, maybe they rotate occasionally, but the same basic crops over and over again, what are they putting into the soil?
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer that contains NPK. Nitrogen, phosphorus,
Potassium.
potassium, thank you. That's it. Nitrogen, they put those three things into the soil and they get food.
Tasteless food.
They get food. They get something they can. So have you noticed that a commercial tomato often tastes like a red bag of water? Why? Because it doesn't really have any nutritional value. And it's the nutrients in the tomato that give it its flavor. So there's no comparison between an organic tomato, most of the time, right, and a commercial one. The organic farmer has to ensure that the nutrients are in the soil because he doesn't have chemical pesticides to protect his crop. He has to make those plants strong or they're going to get attacked in the same way that the lions go after the weak gazelle, the slow gazelle, the fat gazelle, whatever it might be. Okay? So, although the soils have been depleted, if you're eating organic produce, there's still plenty of nutrition there. And in fact, what we really want to do, I mean, if you think about the quantity, if you took all the vitamins and minerals you needed for a whole year, now they're tiny things, but a whole year's worth would fit into a thimble. It's not a lot. Okay, it's not that hard to get that stuff. Many people think that, you know, we need this massive, I mean, it's all about superfoods and making sure we're getting massive quantities. Like the more we get, the better off we are. That's our cultural bias. If something's good for us, more of it must be better. As I was attempting to point out with the carrot juice example, though, if you're taking in massive concentrations, your body actually has to work to process everything that comes in. So if you're taking in much more than you need, your body's working harder to process out all the stuff it doesn't need. It's not helping. It's not really useful that way. So we need tiny amounts. It's not so hard to get. And as it turns out, even when there's deficiencies, and this is the part that's hard for many people to believe, but I've had experience here over the last 15 plus years, at least a dozen times, where a client has come in having been previously diagnosed with some significant nutrient deficiency. It's been magnesium, potassium, iron, B12, whatever. In every single case, and this seems crazy to most people, those deficiencies were completely eliminated while people consumed only pure water. Now again, that may sound hard to believe, but it happens, and it happens all the time, not just here. It happens at fasting centers, wherever they are, and it's happened over time. There's documentation, and I've seen it here over and over again with each of these conditions. I have a little cat issue here. Come here, buddy. This is fish. Fish. Let's not be attacking my arm, please. So what does that mean? If someone's consuming only pure water, And the deficiency issues, they're B12 deficiency, magnesium deficiency, potassium deficiency, iron deficiency, anemia, those things are going away. What does that mean? Well, I think what it means is that the nutrients were already in the body, but for whatever reason, the body wasn't able to assimilate them. So the problem isn't that we need to get more in, it's that we need to be able to use what we already have. You may not know this, but in most of Asia and most of Africa, the average person consumes less than 20% as much calcium as Westerners get. And yet, they have no osteoporosis. So again, it's not about getting more. It's about using, keeping, and using what we already have. So, bottom line, how do we ensure that we're getting all the nutrition we need? Simple. We get the body as clean as possible. We make the body as efficient as possible. How do we do that? We do that by giving it the opportunity to cleanse and heal itself, which happens only as powerfully as possible through water-only fasting long enough and properly. You have to be doing it properly. You're not going to see the benefit. After that, all we need to do is simply eat the foods that our bodies were designed for. What are they? Well, they're the things that we could go out into our natural habitat here in the tropics, where we could be naked all year long. The things we could go out into this natural climate and eat. If we have to prepare it, if we have to make it somehow, if we have to buy it, if it doesn't come from here, it wasn't something that we need. It wasn't something we were designed to eat, and it wasn't something that we need to have. And if there's anything that we have to be careful about, if we can only consume X amount of this or Y amount of that, it's toxic to us. We want to be careful. That's not how we reach the highest level of health. We do it by simply learning how to get out of the way, giving our body a chance to get clean, and amazing things happen. I hope that helps.